WandaVision! Greetings, salutations, Happy New Year. Your boy Icon is back. I cannot believe it is January 15th already. This year is already going by very quickly. So now, season 2 of doing television reviews. I gotta be honest, when I knew I was gonna be doing the new season of TV reviews, because again, a lot of shows got canceled due to the pandemic, so we didn't get anything really for the fall. I was under the impression that the first review that I was going to do for 2021 was going to be Batwoman, because Batwoman comes out on Sunday. But, WandaVision popped up on the 15th, and, at the end of the day, I figured, what the hell, why not? Let's talk about a little WandaVision. So, episode 1. The episode starts where there's no introduction to what's going on. Like, there's no magical thing, there's no, precursor. It just starts where Wanda and Vision are at home, and they had a nice little opening. It was very bewitched. The show is basically Bewitched. Like, let's keep it real. Like, they based the first episode off of Bewitched, and as a kid, I loved watching Bewitched as a kid. It was actually one of my favorite, TV sitcoms back then. So that was one aspect of the show that I thought was really cool. Like, I enjoyed the Bewitched aspect of it. So, it starts with they got the laugh track in the background, like the studio audience or whatever. Vision comes downstairs and, Wanda's there. They got the old school garb on, they're talking, like how people used to talk back in the day, with the hairstyles and everything. But the weird thing about it is when the two of them are having their morning conversations, they're making jokes about the fact that, wives back then, they basically did whatever, they were basically housewives. So she was just like, oh, honey, she's like, how would you like me to cook you bacon and eggs and toast and jam and coffee and juice? And I'm like, first of all, who's eating all that? But, Vision was just like, well, babe, I don't cook. He's like, I don't eat, so that would be pointless. So they're looking at the calendar and they're talking about, they're completely aware of their powers. Like, they're both completely aware of the fact that she's a witch and he's a robot. So, synthetic being. But they were looking at the calendar and they saw that there was a heart shaped on a specific date on the calendar. And they were trying to figure out what that date was for. So now they were going back and forth, and it was just like they were bringing up every single thing under the sun of what the day could be, but the word anniversary never really came up in the beginning, and I thought that was weird. So it's almost as like they don't know why they were here. So then they're just like, whatever, they'll figure it out. And, Vision goes off to work, kisses his wife goodbye, and then he leaves. So her neighbor shows up. Like, there's a neighbor that shows up. There's always an Agnes or like a nosy neighbor in these sitcoms. The neighbor shows up, and then she's just like, hey, honey, where's your husband? You don't have a ring on. And then she's just like, oh, because, we're married, though. We don't need a ring. And then, she's just like, well, what are you celebrating today? And then, Wanda, she couldn't remember. She couldn't remember. She was trying to figure out what the celebration was for. And then the neighbor was like, oh, it's your anniversary. And then she was just like, yeah, that's it, your anniversary. So the neighbor starts giving her tips on what she can do to help celebrate the anniversary when Vision gets home. Vision's at work now, and throughout the entire episode, they were kind of poking fun at the old sitcoms because, Vision was at work, and it's very weird because everyone calls him Vision. He doesn't have it's like there was a moment where Wanda answered the phone, she was like, hi, this is the Vision residence. So I'm just like, but then when he was at work, they would just everybody was calling him Vision. So I'm like, is Vision his first name or is Vision his last name? They never specified, and no one ever made a comment on whether or not this man had a last name or what his actual first name was. So Vision's at work, and then there's the row. He works at an office or whatever. There's a row of people, sitting at desk. And then Vision gets up, he goes and talks to one of the people sitting at the desk, and then he asks the person, he's just like, I have a quick question for you. He's like, what exactly is it that we do here? Because he didn't know what he did for work. And then he was just like, we're pushing papers and our productivity's improved tenfold ever since you showed up. And then he's just like, yes, but what is it do we actually do? So it's like he's the best worker in the job, and he had no idea what his actual job was, which I thought was kind of funny. So then the big boss comes in, because there's always always a big boss. There's always a boss, and there's always a dinner party. And then the boss was just like, his name was like Mr. Hartthorne or something. And then he was just like, yeah, Vision, my wife and I, we look forward to coming to your house for dinner tonight. And then Vision was like, oh, the heart that was on the calendar. That's because my boss is coming over for dinner. How could I forget? Meanwhile, Wanda's talking to her, to her neighbor, and her neighbor's giving her all these sexy tips on how to spice up her marriage and everything, thinking that it's the anniversary. So Wanda's under the impression that she's celebrating their anniversary. Vision's under the impression that they're celebrating, they're having like the dinner party with his boss, which the dinner party thing was actually true because the boss was well aware of the fact that they were going to a dinner party. So the boss shows up. Wanda comes in what, in 1950s, 60s lingerie. And then everybody was just like, oh my, like, what are you wearing? And I'm like, that's it. Like, first of all, that, like, compared to what happened, compared to like today, she had on a regular dress, but again, for the times, that was considered like a big deal. So, so now like she's embarrassed, and then he's just like, oh, my boss is here, and then she's just like, all right, cool. She's just like, I'll make some dinner, and then he ended up saying, he was just like, he said that my wife is from Markovia or Zakovia, whatever. I forgot the country, but they did mention the fact that she was, she was foreign and she was European, so we got that out of the way. I mean, but you almost had to, because it's funny because they were making a big deal out of the fact that she was the one who was foreign, but he's the one with the accent. So, so anyway, she's in the kitchen. Wanda uses her magic powers to make dinner, and then she ends up making dinner. Vision's talking to his boss and the wife or whatever. Dinner's on the table. Everybody's eating dinner, and then during the dinner, the boss had asked them how did they meet, and that became very awkward because neither one of them could answer the question, and because that's the thing, it's like the two of them, they're in this world, but they don't know how they got there. They don't have, like, there's no backstory to why they're there, to the point where they don't even remember why they're there. And then they froze for a second because they couldn't figure out how to answer the question. And then the boss but he kept pushing it. The boss was just like, oh, how did you meet? How did you meet? And then eventually he started choking on his food. And then he fell on the floor and he almost passed out. Now, when that happened, now I got a theory for that. But when that happened, the wife made a face, and then as to looking to Wanda as like, please save my husband. And then Wanda told Vision to go save him. Vision, took the food, because he was choking on whatever. Vision, he phased his hand into the guy's neck. He took the food out of his neck. And then once he got up, the boss was just like, well, it was a lovely dinner. Vision, you're going to get a promotion. My wife and I are going to leave. And they hurried, they got the hell up out of there with the quickness. And then after that, Wanda and Vision, they sat on the couch and they were just like, we don't have an anniversary. And then he was just like, well, let's today be our anniversary and you can create rings for us. And then we'll live happily ever after, the end. And that's how the episode ended. It was very short. It was very short. Now my whole thing with the dinner was, here's my whole thing in general. Obviously, they're in some sort of like wacky, crazy Truman Show type situation. I feel like Wanda, because Vision died. Vision died in Endgame and all that other stuff. So Vision gone. However, I feel like either some residual power of the Mind Stone got into Wanda's system, or Wanda is, because she's like emotionally distraught over what happened to Vision, I feel like Wanda is unintentionally creating this fantasy world based on the pain that she felt for losing Vision. She's recreated, because she has the power, so she recreated Vision. She's forcing these. I feel like the townspeople know exactly what's going on. Everybody's aware of what's going on. They know that they're trapped in the Truman Show. They're trapped in the Truman Show on an episode of Bewitched, basically. Because the townspeople and the reason, and like Wanda has created like a safe space for herself. She created a happy ending for herself, and to the point where she's not even aware of the fact that she's trapped in this own situation that she created. But her self-conscious. The reason why like the boss ended up choking was because Wanda's self-conscious was just like, yo, stop asking questions. Her self-conscious, like, I created this happy safe space for me, and you're ruining that because you're asking us questions that we can't answer. Shut up. That's why she tried to take him out. But again, I feel like the like everybody that's trapped in there with them knows what's going on. So but we're gonna see that play out obviously as the season progresses, because again, Vision has no idea why he's there. And for all we know, Wanda could be lying. Like, Wanda could know exactly why, they're there, but she's just playing dumb because she wants to keep the lie alive. And then, when the episode ended, and the credits were rolling, and then it zoomed out, and then we saw somebody watching the two of them on TV. So there's also the chance that somebody may have put Wanda's spirit into some crazy TV land, or she just dreamed him up. But I'm going with the theory that Wanda basically created all this due to her pain and her suffering. So that was that was it. That was it for the first episode. I'm gonna be honest, like, it wasn't the best. Like, it definitely wasn't the best. And it's not because they went the old school TV route, because again, like I said, I love Bewitch. Like, Bewitch is one of my favorite TV series of all time. So that, I appreciated that aspect of it, but the show itself, it was just like, it just wasn't, like I said, the first episode, it was okay. It just wasn't the greatest. Like, I'm not walking at us being like, oh, Marvel's done it again. It was just like, but I'm gonna stick with it because the thing is, it's obvious that everyone is trapped in some sort of weird reality. If it wasn't for that, like, if what we saw was legitimate lore and this is how the show was gonna be, it was probably going to be a tough watch. But the thing about it is, because I know that this isn't what the whole thing's going to be and it's going to change, if the first couple of episodes are bad, I can let that slide, because I know that there's going to be a good payoff, or at least I hope there's going to be a good payoff towards the end. So, like I said, it wasn't the best episode in the world, but it's worth sticking around just to see how everything unfolds. So that was it. That was my review for episode 1 of WandaVision. I also want to point out, these episodes don't have titles, and I don't know how I feel about that. It's not like it's episode 1, meet the boss, or like episode 2, we're in a daze. It's just episode 1, episode 2. Like, these episodes don't have names, and that's a little weird. But but the show in itself is weird. So we'll see what happens. So thank you for tuning in. Episode 2 coming back to back, because they gave us 2 episodes right out the gate. Leave a comment, like it, or subscribe. Let me know what you thought of the first episode. Let me know what you think's gonna happen. going forward. Let's talk about it, because we're committing to this. So we're gonna, as long as it takes, as long as the series is, we gonna go right to it. And like I said, we're gonna review this WandaVision, and hopefully big things will come towards the end. So, like I said, leave a comment, like, and or subscribe. Check me out on social media. Hit the notification bell so you'll know when my episode 2 comes out, when my Batwoman review comes out, because Batwoman's coming up pretty soon. And until next time, for WandaVision, guys, take care, and I'm out this bitch.